Hello, today is Friday, April 19th, and welcome to episode 325 of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you quickly up to speed 3 times a week on national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. I'm NSI Senior Fellow Lester Munson. I'm joined today by my fellow Senior Fellow, Morgan Vigna, NSI's Deputy Executive Director, Jessica Jones, and NSI's founder and Executive Director, Jamil Jaffer. We are going to talk today about something that happened just a few hours ago. It appears that Israel has responded to Iran's strike on Israel of a few days ago. There were explosions at an airbase outside the Iranian city of Isfahan. Notably, Isfahan is also the site of a good chunk of Iran's nuclear weapons program. Initial reports indicated that the explosions may have been related to the nuclear program. But it now appears that is not the case, and the explosions did in fact happen at an airbase in Isfahan. There's a number of implications of this. First of all, the strike appears to be extremely modest compared to what Iran launched at Israel a few days ago, which was missiles and drones in the hundreds. We don't know how many missiles or drones or even really what the delivery mechanism was here, but it appears to be much smaller than that package. However, it was successful in that things actually exploded. Israel hit targets that it was intending to hit. It does not appear that Iran was able to knock down any of the weaponry coming into its country from Israel. So there's a lot to talk about here. Talk about it in the context of the overall conflict between Israel and Iran. Was this an effort by Israel to de-escalate the conflict and give Iran the opportunity to not strike back because it was so modest? Notably, the Biden administration is pushing a more regional diplomatic solution here, including a possible deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel along the lines of the Abraham Accords. Morgan, I want to go to you first. What are your kind of initial thoughts here about this strike? A lot of the stuff isn't confirmed yet, but let's talk about it anyway. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, Les. I think it is first and foremost incredibly notable that Israel did not necessarily, quote, take the win that the Biden administration had urged it to, and didn't let the United States or Europe really dictate the terms of its response. Israel struck Iran. As Jamil would say, it was more of a pinprick, but I would say it was done in a very rapid and deliberate way. I think this is notable for a number of reasons. Israel demonstrated that it was able to penetrate Iranian airspace, that Iran received zero help, did not have Russia or China coming to its aid, much unlike Israel, which had the United States, our Arab partners, as well as our European partners, really rally to its defense. Iran is downplaying these strikes right now, which are indicative that they really want to minimize the emphasis that Israel was able to strike Iran. I would say that this will, I think, reduce the chances of Iran trying to hit back against Israel in a more escalatory way. I think it is notable that our Gulf state partners who Les, I'm sure you'll get into this later, but who have been working to broker an Abraham Accords agreement with Israel, saw Iranian weakness. Iran is not 10 feet tall here, and that Israel was able to strike Iran and sort of clearly is the superior partner in the region. I think it is also notable that Israel did not touch Iranian nukes. There are reports that indicate that Israel was able to strike Iranian jets, which is particularly poignant as Iran tried to strike Nevatim Air Base in Israel, which is the home to Israel's F-35 fleet. So if Israel was able to take out their fighter jets, I think that is, particularly symbolic. But overall, I don't think we're seeing Israel taking any steps here to start a new war.
Jones, I see you nodding along with Morgan on her analysis. What do you agree with her? Where's the fault line here? It was indeed awesome, but where's the fault line?
Sorry, I'm not going to just create a fault line unless I want to give you your good news on a Friday, but I don't see a fault line. I agree
with Jess, you're a crunchy granola. You're a crunchy granola representative.
But I mean, to Morgan's last statement, you see whoever, there's this tit for tat going. You can say whoever started the tit for tat, like without even naming whoever that is. Right now,
Iran started the tit for tat on October 7th.
Maybe Morgan, you would chime in.
Well,
But
long before that.
But you used to both what Morgan's saying and Jamil's pinprick comment earlier. It seems as if it's clear that Israel is doing a pinprick to kind of not be seen as escalating and causing Iran to retaliate, right? And this morning, I will say, I did not think this was much of a story because, to your point, Les, nothing's been confirmed. You don't see sides saying anything, whether that's also an intentional move to downplay by both Iran and Israel tensions in the region. There might be a story next week or on Monday, but I didn't really see much from this because we don't have a lot of information confirmed. I do think it's interesting, to Morgan's point about the lack of support that Iran's receiving from China and Russia, in contrast to what Israel got from its Arab, neighbors and from Europe and from the United States. China has been a bit quiet this week, but they see themselves as brokering in the Middle East, the Saudi-Iran normalization. You mentioned the Biden administration pushing forward with Saudi-Israel relations and normalization there. And you see China kind of maybe picking, they don't pick partners because they don't have partners and allies, but friends perhaps, picking the wrong friend here, because Iran is seen by everyone in the region as continuing to be a malign influence. And you see everyone around Iran, when it push comes to whatever the phrase is, push to push, because I don't actually know what the phrase is, cooperating to counter Iran's activities. And so I think it'll be interesting to see if China is able to play any role, really, any role, wield any influence in the region when it continues to stand by Iran.
Yeah, I just want to jump in here before we go to Jamil and he starts to dominate the conversation.
He's not going to.
But I want to clarify that my statement on October 7th was the start of the tit for tat. That's not the case. October 7th was the worst terrorist attack that we've seen in Israel's history, right? But I do think it is indicative of the fact that Iran is the malign actor in the region, as Jessica says, right? There's no question about it. That is out in the open now, and it is on display for everyone to see.
And when I say tit for tat, I don't mean who's right. I mean, everyone can claim another party is the tit for tat, that they're responding in kind, right? I'm not actually attributing who started what. I'm saying that is what an argument one could pose as reason for their actions.
Jamil,
let's be clear. Iran started. I mean, let's just be clear.
Let's focus, people. Let's focus. Jamil, you are normally one calling for vigorous responses, demonstrations of strength, aggression against evil acts. Was this enough by Israel?
Yeah, look, I make fun of it calling a pinprick, and that's not my word. That's the phrase that President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden at the time used to describe our response to the Syrian use of chemical weapons. A response, by the way, which they never actually undertook, even though President Obama told the American public as commander-in-chief he had decided to strike Syria. So, look, I think the thing here about this strike in particular is, look, Israel took out 3 senior Iranian generals, 7 officers in Damascus by hitting their quote unquote diplomatic facility, really a military operations facility. And Iran responded with a massive attempted strike on Israel. Israel successfully took it down. There were a couple of small missiles that landed, or a handful of small missiles that landed in Israel, 5, I think. And so Israel responded in kind to the 5 that hit, right? It was a proportionate response in that sense. But they demonstrated that Iran can't shoot down any of its missiles. They demonstrated they have the ability to take out Iran's fighter jets, by the way, which are a bunch of old F-5s, which you might recall the aggressor squadron from Top Gun, the 1986 movie. Those are the jets they primarily have. They do have some F-14s. Not clear that they're capable of flying those. They are good at the F-5s, but those are highly dated. And look, at the end of the day, what it demonstrates is Iran can't defend itself. Israel can strike within Iran at will. Now Iran's on notice that if you're going to shoot at us from your territory, we're going to shoot you from our territory, and we can take you out. You don't have the kind of defenses we have, and so that's going to be a real problem for Iran if it wants to pick a fight here. I think also what you're seeing here now is an end of what could have been a significant escalatory ladder, frankly, an escalatory ladder that Israel would have won, but an escalatory ladder that we don't need to be on. And remember, by the way, it's Iran that's been escalating since day one. They began with Hezbollah. They continue with the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. They continued with Hamas. They're attacking the Americans and commercial shipping in the Red Sea. This is all about Iran and their aggressive behavior. Israel's defending itself against the terrorist attack it encountered, and against a attempted attacks on and successful attacks on Israel by Iran over the course of decades. Iran should be happy it was only 3 generals and not half their military.
All right, I'm going to irritate everyone and say that this strike was the result of very tight collaboration between Joe Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu.
It's like mythical
They worked
collaboration.
together on this strike. Netanyahu is actually the moderate in the Israeli government right now. His political opponent, Benny Gantz, is actually more forward-leaning and more hardline than he is, and
That is
wanted
true.
a bigger, more immediate counterstrike. Behind the scenes, this is exactly what the Biden administration was hoping for. They want to use this to roll out an attempt at a broader diplomatic solution for the Middle East. If it works, it's a huge win for the Biden administration, and kudos to them. Okay, that's a wrap. Thanks so much to Devlin Burney, Claude Jennings, and the NSI staff for their help in producing today's episode. Join us again on Monday, April 22nd, for another episode of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you smart fast on the national security and foreign policy debate shaking up America and the four of us. Fault Lines is now on YouTube, so check out our channel for a video of today's episode. If you like what you heard or saw, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Have a fantastic weekend.